The Classic Butter Tart. These little gems pack a powerhouse of flavor. And when we add the essence of our secret spice today, we'll be taking our olfactory bulb on a one-way trip to limbic paradise. Welcome back to the Taste of Memory. Today is the ideal day for making these butter tarts. It's storming outside, not too bad, but I think it's the tail end of winter, and I'm excited about that because I want to get outside to some open fire cooking and share some really cool, exciting recipes with you guys. Today, we're going to be using a secret ingredient for our butter tarts. It won't be secret, of course, once we reveal it, but it's an ingredient that's not very commonly used in butter tarts. It does a lot of things to the senses. You may be surprised at what it might do for your senses. Let's take a look at our ingredient today. Ginger is truly the spice of legends. The history of this spice has roots that go as far back as 5,000 years. The cultures of Indo-Malaya, Central Asia, and the Orient have harnessed not only the flavor of this root, but have also turned it into a medicinal wonder. Ginger is a very prolific root, and you can find it pretty much harvested anywhere. Okay, well, maybe not here, but you get the idea. But lucky for us, you can find it in pretty much any grocery store. And don't be afraid to check your produce thoroughly. Compared to last year's pricing, produce has risen to a 16% increase for 2023. So get the most for your dollar. Before we get into our ingredients, let's look at some of the tools we're going to be using today in the kitchen. A pastry cutter ring set, just assorted sizes, but we'll be using 3 to 4 inch size. Your standard sized egg ring. My purpose here is just to provide options, just in case you don't have the cookie cutters kicking around. Now, who doesn't have a mason lid? These guys come in handy for so many things, and they cut out real nice. And the red Solo cup. Everybody has these somewhere in the cupboard. I double them up, make them a little bit more sturdy. Just remember to cut a hole in the bottom. Again, to help release with the suction once you've cut the dough, it releases a lot easier. A pastry cutter or dough blender. And a fine stainless steel grater. We're going to be using this to grate our ginger to get it nice and fine. Just watch your fingers with these. Now on to our main ingredients. Half a cup of golden corn syrup. And a quarter cup of cream salted butter. One cup of brown sugar packed tightly. 2 medium to large size eggs. 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract, and 1 teaspoon of white vinegar. And your filling options will be pecans chopped or whole, walnuts chopped or whole, or dark or golden raisins. We're going to go with our golden raisins today. You see, and that's the really cool thing with butter tarts, is that as long as you have the base filling set up, you can add pretty much anything you want into the mix. Apples, cranberries, whatever you want. A half a cup of cold unsalted butter. 1 teaspoon of sugar and half a teaspoon of salt. A quarter cup of cold water. And 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. And we're going to begin by making our pastry dough first, and this will provide the ideal rest time while we're making our filling. Along with our 1.5 cups of flour, we add the salt followed by the sugar. After providing a quick dry stir, we'll begin the process of what is referred to as the cutting in of the two elements, wet to dry. Most commonly, the butter is cubed and then incorporated into the dry using a pastry cutter or a fork. I learned over time that taking a simple cheese grater and grating your cold butter in as if you were grating cheese is a wonderful way of cutting in the process. Take your cheese grater and just as you would, grate the butter. And now we can begin the process of cutting in the dry to the wet element. Taking our pastry cutter, we work the two elements together. Once combined, add the cold water and a bit at a time. And now get those hands dirty. That is, if you're not using a dough mixer or a KitchenAid. And in no time at all, you'll find your dough setting up into a nice Play-Doh type consistency. This is when you know everything is just coming together just beautifully. Begin working the dough into a ball form. And once nicely round, set the dough in the fridge while you prepare the tart filling. Finally, grate 1 to 2 teaspoons of fresh ginger to have ready to incorporate into the filling as you mix it. And now onto the wet ingredients. We begin with our 2 medium to large size eggs. Whisk in, and as always, we begin setting up the base. Next in, add your cream butter. And don't be afraid to refer back to the cookie episode that we did for Betty on the method of how to do the creaming of the butter. In future episodes, you'll find the technique useful, especially when we get into making New York style cheesecakes. Can't wait for that one. In goes our ginger, and we're just using 1 teaspoon for this recipe today. We're gonna go ahead and add our vanilla extract, and then we'll be adding our vinegar, then our brown sugar. And while we do that, we'll get to our taste of memory fact of the day. Did you know that freshly brewed ginger tea is used to help settle the stomach and also aid in digestion? I'll include a recipe in the description below. And once you've thoroughly mixed in brown sugar, you can go ahead and add your corn syrup. And now that the filling has nicely mixed together, we make our decision. Raisins, pecans, which one? Well, we're going to go with the golden raisins today. And now back to our dough. Flour your counter surface. And don't forget to flour the rolling pin. And begin rolling out your dough. Make sure that you have enough flour on the counter to avoid the sticking of the dough to the counter. Remember that rolling pattern we'd spoke about in the previous video. Palms down against the pin and roll in an X pattern, then reverse and X, then reverse back again until you get your dough rolled out to approximately 1/8 of an inch thickness. Now here's an interesting tip. If you take 2 quarters, stack them on top of each other, that will work out to approximately 1/8 of thickness. It just gives a visual perspective when you're rolling out the dough. Once the dough is completely rolled out, take your cutting ring and begin cutting out your pastry rounds. And take those rounds and insert them into your pastry tray. Just be certain that each one is set in tightly to the tray, and then set your oven to 350. And while your oven is warming up, pour the filling into your tart forms. And into our preheated 350-degree Fahrenheit oven and bake for 15 to 20 minutes, depending on the size and the thickness of the tarts. Once baked and browned to flavor perfection, let rest for 10 to 15 minutes and enjoy. Thank you for being with us today on The Taste of Memory. I wanted to remind you that at the end of each episode, we're going to try to put in a little blooper and also give you an idea, a bit of a teaser of what our next episodes are going to be. I'm going to share this with you now. One of the next episodes in line is the Titanic one, where we're going to extract from the menus of each class and recreate those meals here in the Taste of Memory kitchen. Once again, thank you for being with us, and remember, please subscribe. It helps to grow the channel, and I love having you with us. Thank you. Hannah, really? Oh, Abby. Yep. Join in, guys. Might as well. This is only take number 52.